This is Off the Break Podcast, presented by Silver Screen Insider.
Welcome back to Off the Break Podcast. I'm Cody, and with me are Kyle and Ken.
Hello.
Kyle, you seen any good movies this week?
In my mind, I
sure
keep wanting
have.
to say Eric, but I'm like, I stutter, and I'm like, Ken. Yes.
Ken, your husband.
That guy.
Yes, Ken, I have seen movies. A pretty good one,
Why?
in fact.
Why did I ever have you join this podcast? I mean,
Why did you agree to any of this?
why did I ever say yes to anything?
I love being married. So we're going to start our podcast out with the most pressing news of the week. Cody didn't watch Vertigo again,
And I actually remembered.
Yeah.
and Kyle watched it.
Well, things happened this week, and to be fair, I've watched no movies, so it's not like I'm choosing.
To be fair.
Yeah, it's not like I'm choosing to watch another movie and shirk my responsibilities. I'm just not watching movies at all
But
right
that's
now.
a terrible thing to say.
If I can't see them in a theater, I don't want to see them at all.
I'm pretty sure you
taking a
watched
stand.
Thomas the
Yeah.
Tank Engine doubleheader from bed this morning.
That's not a movie.
Ooh.
That's a TV show that I watched with my beautiful, beautiful children.
Trying to butter up the audience. I see how it is.
All right. Well, Kyle and I are still working on the punishment, so we'll get back to that later.
I was looking over our notes for today's podcast, and I got to Cody's Classic Corner note, and I'm like, oh no.
You literally got vertigo.
I did. I like gasped, and I was like,
That
no.
one was Ken's joke earlier. I can't take credit for that. But actually, there's not going to be any punishment this time.
Oh.
We'll let it slide.
Thank you. You are merciful.
This time.
Is it double punishment next time?
I mean, I don't know. It's on Ken, really.
Double secret probation.
Well, on today's podcast, the great overlords that I work with are going to talk about theater chains and getting reopened. What are some of the sanitation guidelines that we can expect? Because we are going to have a few places reopen this week, and I think a few more in the weeks to follow. Also, the big the big fight between AMC, Regal, and Universal.
Yeah,
So-
the Civil War and not the
Yeah.
Marvel kind.
Not the Marvel kind, where
Not the
everybody's
fun
fine
kind.
in the end.
Yeah.
No one dies. And then we can talk a little bit about the change in some Academy Award rules because of COVID-19. And then I wanted to go over, just to give everybody a heads up, on some repertory combo drives that the studios have put together for series for when you do open your theater. What are you going to play? And that should take us through the podcast. So
That sounds like a perfect episode.
so nice. Where do we want to start? Sanitation? Fighting?
Sanitation. That definitely sounds exciting.
I always, if you have a choice to choose anything first in a procedure of any sort, sanitation was where I would go.
Yeah.
You don't want to just jump in with both feet and then like, oh, sanitization next.
Yeah.
Let's start.
Sanitization.
Sanitization. It dumbfounded me that you said that. Where do you want to start?
I don't know. I thought it was
Yeah,
hilarious.
sure. You were struck dumb by that comment.
I was. I was like, you were like trying to sell it so hard.
Okay. Well, if anybody's tuned in to the NATO webinars or been following the news that's happening with theaters reopening in Germany, the thing that is on everybody's mind is how, when I reopen, how do I make my customers feel safe, and what are my cleaning practices going to be to keep not only the staff but the customer safe in the theater. So what are some options that theaters can do and to start thinking about implementing before they just open their doors now?
Well, I mean, Germany had their theaters reopen, and they had some good ones that Americans could probably borrow from. Ideas such as protective screens at the cash registers and counters, employees getting masks and gloves is obviously like one that everyone's
Right.
probably thought of by now. Taking even more disinfective measures to the extreme, but just by wiping down stuff even more constantly than before. Tried to have social distancing rules in place, tape marked on the floor or
Right.
with signs, however
Well,
you can.
theater capacity being reduced to say 50% or
Right.
25% of capacity to offer spacing.
They even had another guideline that I thought was interesting, to where entrances are the same, but like exits are done through like emergency exits of like the theater itself.
Yeah.
I thought that kind of like made sense. That way there's not as much traffic flow.
Right. So you get like a more controlled traffic flow. So you come in one way and you go out one way, and you don't intersect.
Right.
So that's nice.
That seems like a very German thing to do, though. Like they would walk in one door, walk out, everybody in single file lines. That's not America, baby.
No, but it's a good
It's
option.
all gonna be
I mean,
clustered.
if you can use your emergency exits, you may consider having people come in, not milling in the lobby, went in between shows, and exiting out the emergency exit out the back of the building. A lot of theaters are located in malls, and they would exit right out onto the parking lot, which would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, if only we were all a little more like Germany.
I kind of like the idea of obviously having every employee have a mask. And for the theaters that have some spending money and some extra budget, planning to find somewhere that can make cloth masks and maybe put your own theater branding on them so they become part of a uniform. Because some of these things that people are going to do, like the masks, are going to last a lot longer than the virus itself, I think. And so given the long-term nature of some of these things you're going to implement, you may consider investing in things like cloth masks for the employees, have them professionally dry cleaned every night, and just have enough on hand so it's like a uniform.
But get on it early. Get supplies of masks, gloves, all those things now.
Start
and as soon as they're
now.
available.
Even if you don't think you're going to open up till middle of June, end of June, even if, you want to be on that stuff now, because when people start reopening en masse, it's just going to be a rush for some of this stuff.
And none of these things are perishable.
Right. And you're not just competing with other theaters for cleaning supplies and masks. You're competing with all businesses trying to reopen this way.
With everyone. Yeah.
Everyone. Every customer-based business.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about a little bit about the face masks for employees. Crowd control measures you can take, maybe creating, pathways, one-way, pathways into the theaters by the concession stand, that sort of thing. Screens on the concession stand. I have noticed, I haven't really left my house, but today I did get to go to Target for the first time in forever.
In 45 days?
Yeah, it was a lot for me. There was a lot of shopping happening today.
I'm sure there was.
And there's plexiglass screens popping up there. Fast food windows now have them, I noticed today. So you're going to probably have to implement some sort of screen guard. It'll be kind of expensive, I would assume. Not cheap given all the demand for them now, but
it's time to get on it. There's no better time than the present. If there are a few kinks in your setup, in your system for how it works, there's time to improve.
Right.
Nobody expects a perfect delivery system the first time out.
No.
But you're not going to get the full audience the first time out
Right.
either. This is all planning for July 17th and July 24th for those two big blockbuster releases.
Mulan. You want to be prepared.
You want to be
that.
ready to fill up your auditoriums as much as you're allowed to.
Right. So the number one thing is to always check with your local health board and find out what your restrictions are. There's a lot of things you can implement, but no one's really going to help you on. And there's a lot of things you can do that might be overkill. So just check with your local government to find out what they're looking for you to do, and then build your safety precautions and measures from there. Also, I think it's important that as you start to bring back your employees to this, you're going to have a bunch of new training. Not only are they going to be trained in these new cleanliness measures and new processes, but they've been off site for a while, and so they're just as a general going to be rustiness. So you want to allow some time for training and protocols to take place, especially if you're implementing crowd control measures, new cleaning schedules, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and something as simple as a 3 questionnaire when your employees come in. Have you had a fever? Have you been to a doctor? Have you been in contact with anyone who has or is presumed to have this illness?
Right.
Just going through the motions. It's at this point, we know that this can be controlled and it's overkill. Everything we're doing is beyond what we actually need to be doing, but it's the right thing to do for yourself, for your business, for your employees,
Right.
for the theaters that you all believe in.
So what are some other measures that because I know we talked about this a little earlier, what are some other measures that theaters can take besides crowd control and obviously updating the cleaning schedule?
Removing the head or destroying the brain.
Right. How about, we talked about social distancing, limiting capacity in the theaters, expanding show times to accommodate for a higher cleaning schedule, but also in your lobby, there's a lot of small lobbies where people really congregate. Maybe it's allowing not only extra time between show times for cleaning, but for people to be able to get popcorn and get to their seats in time. Maybe implementing a kind of dine-in process where they come and they may place an order, but then you have an employee take them the order so they're not standing at the concession stand and you still get people through there. And then also maybe another problem area could be the bathrooms. You may have issues where you can't use as many stalls or as many sinks, so you can't get a wave of people through. So having those crowd control measures where maybe people don't get to always stop at the restroom after the movie. And
Don't drink that large soda.
You might have to do that. Obviously, back to the concession stand, no refills. So, maybe you take this time to research grab and go concessions so that you don't have employees actually making or touching any of the food. So prepackaged chips and nacho cheese, that sort of thing. And maybe these are just temporary measures. Maybe they become long-term offerings in your concession stand, but I would definitely look into some of that stuff. Your vending machines, probably like your soda machines. If you have the freestyle, they're going to probably have to be wiped down more and cleaned more. If you don't, when you get back up and running, there's going to be a bunch of things that you're going to have to check on the theater after being basically dormant for the last couple months.
I do wonder, to probably try to promote online tickets more than getting tickets at the booth.
Right.
Might help lower the amount of people all in one lobby.
This might be the best time to add reserved ticketing and online ticketing sales if you haven't done that already. Mm-hmm. Even if you're the only theater in town and you're like, oh, I've never needed to do that. Well, maybe this might be a reason just to keep people out of the lobby milling about as much.
And you can always turn it off.
Right. You can always add it now, turn it off later. You don't have to pay for it forever.
But I think we're missing something here. The best thing to come out of this when it comes to auditoriums and restrooms is the closing of the middle stall. Am I right?
The middle stall?
The middle urinal. I've seen this many places.
Yeah.
Where there's an odd number of urinals and they're closing off every other one or the middle one if it's 3.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Bravo to everyone out there.
That is every man's dream. That is
You
true.
walk
Do
in
they
there.
need more extra splash guards in the bathroom?
No. It's just a matter of one person going to use 3 urinals and choosing the middle urinal for some reason.
And then there's a whole
the next person that
spacey
comes
thing,
in,
too close.
which is always me, just has to decide whether or not to stand on the right or left of this man. Versus him standing on the right or the left to begin with.
Right.
And then I may choose the one that he has not selected. And then if someone comes in third, well, that's just bad luck.
Yeah.
That's just bad luck. But the closing off the middle stall, bravo to everyone out here there that's closed a middle stall.
And hopefully we'll keep it that way. Probably won't.
I guess that's never really an issue for ladies because we have closed off stalls.
Because you don't pee or poo, yeah.
That too.
Obviously.
We don't need bathroom breaks. So I think what people are going to have to do, owners, managers, is if they're planning on open say mid-May, 2 weeks, then I think they need to take a walk through the theater and just take every area, the lobby, the concession stand, the auditorium, the bathrooms, and just think about things that they can do to implement that and then what they need and then get those supplies now. Because when you reopen, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be busy. You're going to have to train staff. It's just You don't want to make it up as you go on the fly. You want to go in with a plan.
And get your equipment up and going now.
Yeah.
Run it through the paces.
Make sure everything's okay, because the last thing you want to do is try to fire up that, $50,000 projector and find out something needs to be changed out on it.
Actually have an audience
Yeah.
ready to go who's bought concessions and is ready to sit in your theater.
Finally.
Everything's performed perfectly. Everyone's distance. Concessions were sold. Nobody's come in close contact.
Yeah.
And then, boop.
There's no movie playing.
Yeah.
Where's the movie?
Or when somebody finally does go to use the restroom and it makes an awful, awful noise because the water has been flushed through the pipes in a while. Yeah. I just go flush. Make
Just
sure
flush every
okay.
urinal, flush
Yeah.
every stall.
As you know, you tape them off, flush them, make sure they still work.
Just the middle one.
Just
the middle one.
So yeah, that's going to be a big topic. Lots of things to think about with that. And just brainstorming here in the office, we came up with a bunch of really good solutions there that are probably being implemented all over the place. But I haven't really left my house except for today in Target, so I wouldn't know what's being happening.
We'd like to think that people somehow found out about what we've been deciding.
Another good thing is you can as you wipe down doors and stuff, you can always maybe like leave a wipe or leave some signal that it's been cleaned, and have your disinfecting wipes around every doorway. And
You're welcome for introducing you to this wonderful
Ken came up
life
with that.
hack. So take your sanitization wipe. I know I'm saying that 100% wrong. Take your sanitizing wipe. You wipe down the door handle and you leave it hanging on the door handle so somebody knows, hey,
Right.
look at what somebody did for me.
But if
Leave
you're
it hanging on the door handle?
So
Yeah,
you know,
so you know
that's-
it's been
that
cleaned.
I was just thinking have like a sign that says last cleaned 30 minutes
Then you're
ago.
filling it out every 30 seconds because you are going to be on it.
I mean, better than just leaving a wipe
Maybe
on
like
a
one of those
handle.
chess clocks where you can hit it every time.
There you go.
or
those clock signs where you can like move the arrow.
Yeah.
Like last cleaned at half an hour ago.
Yeah, but you think of how
There
many
we
people go
go.
through that door and you're like, tick, 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 tick. No. I don't know. We'll come up with another better one for rapid door use. That cloth on the door might work for doors that don't get opened very often.
That's a freebie. The other freebie that I gave you, which is going to help through all this, is the last 3 rows for cell phone use.
Okay.
It's time to implement it. It's time to make it happen.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for any royalties. I just want to see it in progress.
Okay. And close the middle stall, everyone, for Ken's
And then
comfort.
all of your staff should wear screen masks. No, I'm just kidding.
No, going out today, I wore a mask. Not everybody has been wearing masks where we live, but
You nasties. What's wrong with you people?
The germos.
I wore my mask today. And it's a Star Wars Stormtroopers mask. It's really awesome. Anyways, and I was actually kind of comforted when I saw all the employees in Target and the guy stocking the wine and having them all wear masks. I was like, yeah, we're all in this together. And
So
then
you bought an extra bottle just for for that reason?
we bought a 12-pack, but that's
nice.
Or 2 or 10.
yeah. Day
It is-
drinking is totally a thing now.
Oh, for sure.
It's a wonderful.
It's totally normal now.
I do not want to always go back to work.
I do
night
want to
work?
send kids to school.
Yeah, I want to send kids to school. I don't necessarily want to go back to work. I wonder if the office will let us day drink. Be like, sorry, I got used to this.
There's no way we can go back from this.
The other
We have
day-
to move
It's
forward.
going to
was
be like a medical condition now where you're like, no, sorry, I need this.
The other day, Ken and I had pina coladas for lunch. I was like, I feel like a pina colada. So we got the mix and we made them.
The other day, Cody made a cocktail at 10 a.m.
I was a little stressed out. We were having work done on our house again.
But
and
it's
I'm
9
just
o'clock
over it.
somewhere.
It's 9 a.m. somewhere.
Hey, you are just upset. You call it a cocktail, it's bad behavior. Call it brunch mimosas, and it's fine.
On a Saturday, maybe.
Fine.
On a Wednesday at 10 a.m. Okay, Gloria Vanderbilt.
I was watching the landscapers clean out the yard.
This isn't Kentucky Derby
It was
Day.
finally a sunny day.
Spring break, woo! Go Cody's out there throwing beads at the
my
mailman
soda.
driving by.
Oh. I can't be the only one that has tried a cocktail at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday.
Oh, I'm sure you're
during
not the
this.
only one. There's going to be a lot of people wanting this to be normal now.
And after 2 months of it, I did it one time. I feel like that's really good.
That is, I would say that is really good.
Yeah. It was just a stressful day with the big excavator back at our house, and I got flashbacks to when he was trying to do the foundation, and I was like, no, this is going to be so expensive. I need a drink. It turned out beautiful, though.
Good.
Yeah. All the dirt work happened around our house. Anyways, where do we get off topic?
Speaking of dirty work, back to Hollywood and
yeah.
these Academy Award changes.
Yeah, we should probably talk about that. Kyle, what's happening with this?
Yeah, so because of movies from theaters now going onto VOD very quickly, or they just have to do that, the Academy Awards is going to have like a temporary rule where as long as those movies were meant to be in theaters but had to be put on VOD, they can like apply for the Academy Awards if they wanted to. So like if Trolls World Tour wanted to go to
it's an early
win an
Best
Academy-
Picture frontrunner.
Exactly. It's an early Best Picture frontrunner. If they wanted to, they can still try and get an Academy Award, but it can't be done for like movies that directly get put on streaming services. And it seems like it's only temporary, and I'm hoping it's temporary because I would hate for this to be a full-time rule.
Right. What's net? So does Netflix get to, or Amazon? Like who? How, What is this going to affect besides maybe Trolls? Because everything came out, and then
I mean, early in the year, there's never really like a
yeah.
Oscar frontrunner. I mean, like
No.
Scoob could.
No, The Green Knight is
Do it.
upcoming.
But is that's still on the release schedule? A24 hasn't specified what they're doing with that yet. Is
Yeah.
it A24?
It's A24.
Oh my gosh,
It's gonna.
I need to get back into the office more.
It's gonna go VOD too. I'm positive.
But
I haven't heard anything, but if they don't, they'll be the only one.
The Academy
playing.
did say though that like they have to make sure that it does get put back in theaters to apply on like a 7-day theatrical run if they were planning on having that movie be in theaters in the first place. I mean, it would only just be for like the animated movies probably. I don't see like The Hunt or Bloodshot having a shot
Well, but they
to do it.
came out though in theaters. They actually debuted.
Wouldn't that
Right,
be
right.
an
That's
interesting
true.
twist if, knock on wood, doesn't happen, but if it did, and these were the last movies that were played this year, and then your best pictures were like Bloodshot, Bad Boys for Life, Trolls. Yeah. If your best picture were like just all of the movies, like there's like 8 of them, and that's it.
Sonic.
Yeah, Sonic is up for like
But you know the mass
James Marsden is up for best actor in a major motion picture.
You know that audiences will be like, these are more relatable. I've seen this movie
Oh,
before.
it's probably the best viewed Academy
for
Awards
sure.
100
For
million.
sure.
ever. Or if
Screw
they,
period
if
dramas.
we just got those films and then just got from like Thanksgiving through Christmas, because then
It'd be
then
all
we would have
mainstream
James
stuff, too.
Bond
Yeah.
and Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
Soul. It would be good. Now we gotta have Mulan and Tenet in there and Wonder Woman. I feel like somehow they gotta be like an addition in there too.
Wonder Woman is best like foreign language film
It was
because they
on.
just don't have anything
Don't
else.
have anything.
There's nothing else.
She came from Themyscira. That's a different location.
Yeah.
That counts.
They're like, part of this was filmed in Australia, so that's good. We'll take that.
Close enough.
Well, it'll certainly be an interesting award season, but it just feels like that's so far away. And in
Yeah, that's
reality,
the
none
last thing on our minds.
None of the pictures that come out at this time of year are usually the contenders for the awards.
We
Right.
thought Rocket Man last year, and it tailed off in a major way.
It did.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just so early that it kind of escapes people's minds. And so that's why studios strategically place Oscar pictures towards the end of the year. So
Yeah. I don't think it's going to apply too much to like the early awards or early movie releases outside of like maybe just the animated stuff.
yeah.
If they wanted to. I don't know if they will, but besides that though, my just main worry is that this isn't temporary, but it sounds like it is.
Yeah.
So, because I could see streaming services or even studios just taking advantage of the rule and
Well, being like, well, we tried to, like Netflix, we tried to have independent theaters play it, but nobody
Right.
wanted to.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't really try, Netflix.
You have our number.
Yeah. You know where we're at. You can Google us. The first thing that comes up.
Movie theater near me.
Yeah.
I know your offices are in LA.
Yeah.
Movie theater near me.
Right.
12,000 search
Right.
results.
Yep.
Well,
Nowhere
I don't know
in
what I'm
sight.
going to do
I
now.
don't know. I
We
don't know where they're at. So speaking of what theaters are going to play when they open up, we pretty much touched on this. There's no new films since March 13th, and there were no new films since March 13th, and no new films on the release calendar till Tenet, basically July.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's like is there a Purge one in July?
We don't know yet.
Yeah, there's some iffy ones on there, but what we've heard is Tenet is pretty strong indication, although Warner's may or may not move it. We've got a little bit of time before they have to make a final decision on it, but I think for sure Disney has decided that Mulan will go July 24th.
The East Asian markets will be open
Yep.
for the film. Said South Korea is open. China is planning on being open by then.
Yeah, I think
And-
as long as China's open, they'll play Mulan.
I think you just got to
Yeah,
get
true.
it out.
Yeah,
Just got to get it out there in the marketplace and see what
So-
happens.
we're looking at like, what is that, 8 weeks?
About, yeah.
8-9 weeks. I don't even know. Time
Just,
stands
Kyle,
still.
just keep staring at her until she says like 8, 9, 10, 11 weeks. 8,
Just
9,
let
10,
her
11,
keep
12
going.
weeks.
Well, I'm going to say 4 weeks in May, 4 weeks in June, maybe 2 weeks in 10. I'll go 10 weeks just to be
8,
safe.
9, 10
Ten's the final
weeks.
verdict.
Okay.
8, 9, 10 weeks.
10 weeks, everyone.
Well,
10
that's
weeks.
only if you were to open this weekend. So I'm still going to stick with my 8 weeks because somebody might not get open till middle of May. Regardless, you have 8 weeks. What are you going to play? Kyle, what are we going to play? Ken, what are we going to play?
I don't know.
Probably Tango and Cash Marathon, or all the Rambos back to back to back to back to back to back.
All the Rambos, that would be a good choice.
Yeah.
You finally watched Rambo Last Blood.
Thank you, Lionsgate, for making this horrible, terrible, wonderful movie. I hadn't had a chance to see it, and yes, I watched it on a streaming service because you have to.
Right.
I watched the entire movie in 13 minutes because I fast forward anything that resembled dialogue and just watched the murdering.
Just watch the murdering.
It was
Murderific.
Was
So murdery.
it was
Damn, murder.
It didn't make any sense. There were so many guys that John Rambo killed. He may have killed more people in this than exist. Period.
the last 20 minutes is just a bloodbath. Probably half hour, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah. And if you fast forward between the murders, it goes even faster. It was incredible, and
Are you sure
terrible.
you didn't miss murders by trying to fast forward?
it's entirely possible. Getting used to watching movies on like cell phones and tablets,
Yeah.
it's like darker and lighter always than it needs to be.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden you're like, do you just kill 3 people or 2 people with that hatchet? You never know.
On that teeny tiny screen, you can't tell. Old man
Yeah.
eyes.
I'm pretty sure I watched him throw a hatchet through someone into another person, which was cool. Or a machete. I'm not sure which one it was.
Right.
Yeah.
So, the point we're getting at with all this murder talk
More
is
Rambo.
that the release schedule has been murdered, and the film companies have graciously put together these repertory combo drives. And so each studio has offered something. Sony has theirs, Paramount has some, Lionsgate, Warner's. We hear some rumblings that Disney is even going to offer something, which is way uncharacteristic of them because they don't offer anything from their repertory division to film theatrically, to show theatrically. So that's going to be awesome. Basically, you'll get like 4 or 5 movies on the same drive, and they try to make a theme with the series. So Paramount had like a throwback to the 80s. Lionsgate had an awards contender one with like La La Land in it. And so it's just going to be kind of nice because you're going to get one drive. It's going to have multiple films on it, and you can play it over the week. You can play it every day.
And if for once the film
crazy.
companies are working with independent theaters
Right.
and doing things like lowering minimums, creating these because these don't always exist. They don't
No.
ever exist.
Not really.
So them creating these so we can lower shipping costs to locations. This is one of the few times that we felt like the film companies had independent theaters backs on this specific thing,
Right.
where they weren't necessarily prepared for it, but they worked with their teams that book classics and repertory titles and made something happen.
Which is great because they know that AMC is not going to open till end of June and Cinemark is not opening till end of June, and same with Regal. And so they didn't make these combo drives and these series for the big guys. They made them for independents. And I think it'll take a little bit more advertising, creativity on the independence part, but it should be going hand in hand with your messaging about COVID being you're open, you're there, you're cleaning. Oh, and enjoy these nostalgic throwback films while we're at it. Because they're all repertory titles, you can think about lowering ticket prices, offering them for free, getting sponsorships, involving other people in the community. There's a lot more flexibility with these titles than we've ever really seen, and I think theaters should really take advantage of that at this point. Because of COVID restrictions, you might not be open more than Friday and Saturday night, but you don't have to be open the 3-day minimum with these titles.
Yeah, this gives independent theaters a way to really show what that means, and to really get creative with your marketing, your programming, your ticket pricing, your outreach to the community. This is the one time where no matter how big or small you are, you really have the ability to show what you're made of.
Right.
You know, you can sit and do free shows and just do community outreach, or you can do paid shows and bring in stuff that's going to be interesting and have promotions. And I mean, there's a real ability to.
You might think about doing discounted tickets so that or even free, and then offering concession packages. So really the bulk is getting people to come and buy your concessions.
Yeah, toilet paper with every ticket, a jug of Lysol, something that's going to at least bring it up. I mean, tickets
Hand
aren't
sanitizer with a theater logo on it.
Absolutely. There's got to be something you can do. You know, this isn't quite the open a bank account, get a free gun giveaway, but we can do something here that's really going to stand out and make your theater be remembered for a while.
And maybe, reach out to other struggling businesses in the community and do swaps. Maybe you can give them tickets for the sponsorship of the theater, and the other business can go out and give out tickets, that sort of thing. Maybe you can offer a package, like come to the movie, see this, and then get 10% off from a local business. We're all in this together. Main Street together.
Yeah, no, everybody, there's not one business that isn't affected by this. And 99% of business are affected negatively.
Right. Maybe you can even partner with a local bakery or a local restaurant and feature foods that you wouldn't normally have had in your concession stand, but maybe you can make a deal where, on the business, and you're reaching out to it and partnering with each other.
Yeah, spaghetti and Spaceballs, something that's going to get people excited.
I would be there for that. In a heartbeat.
That actually sounded really fun.
I'm just happy that these studios are actually helping out the little guys, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I hope that kind of turns into a relationship that can flourish more than it has over the years, but maybe that's wishful thinking. But it's at least something. If independent theaters can get themselves back open now, you should definitely take advantage of this, because who knows if the studios are going to remember you after that or not. Hopefully they will.
Yeah, but you should, it's not even, this product is going to be around probably even longer past July, because, how many people are going to be able to open Mulan, and how long will Mulan sustain you before you need other titles? And so I really think you're going to be reaching into repertory to fill screens moving forward.
Absolutely, for a while.
Yeah.
And who knows what we're going to come back to, whether it's going to be these crazy 3-week, 4-week minimums that we've seen before for some of these, or if they're going to relax those too, because they know that they've got to just get it out there. They've got to get everybody to play what they've got when they've got it. Tenant's going to need every location.
Stuff 3 or 4 or 5 weeks that when you normally wouldn't have, because there's going to, what else is there to play out there? What else is there to really see? And there's not going to be the competition from the other product, and people aren't going to be able just to flock and fill the theater on the opening week because you're going to be under capacity restrictions. So hopefully that translates into longer legs on a film and the duration. And like we talked about in last week's podcast, kind of a throwback to the old school movie going where Ghostbusters played for so many weeks because it really was one of the only good films out there at that time.
Absolutely. Yeah, these long extended runs.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind coming back and seeing that where stuff holds long, more than the 3 or 4 weeks that it does now. Then maybe we wouldn't have to worry about windowing as much.
Nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of the thing that we talk about every podcast episode,
the grand fight of our lives.
I'm really excited for this topic.
now
I've been really excited for this topic.
We're gonna play nice because we have personal relationships with these people at the film companies. We're gonna be polite and not talk out of turn, and we're gonna be courteous. Goddamn Universal.
Well, I told you that nobody begrudges a studio from playing a film on premium VOD like Warner Brothers is doing with Scoob, that because they had other arrangements in place for merchandising and toys, and you can't just pick the movie up and move it and then move all those other sub deals. So everybody gets it. Everybody is like, I don't like it, but I get it. But Universal, instead of kind of explaining that to everybody, just stepped on out there right away before theaters were even fully closed across the nation and said, we're doing this. Then theaters closed. So then they were sort of justified in doing it. But now that they're going back and saying, well, it was such a major success that now we're going to implement this as a complementary strategy to our theatrical slate. And
we'd expect to see what AMC did out of some independent chains, out of smaller places that were like, don't tread on me. But then the Babe Ruth of theater companies, the guy with the biggest stick comes out and says, oh, no.
No. I think what shocked everybody was the tone and the language. Usually they're more diplomatic, but it was nice to see them being like, no.
They sounded pissed. AMC pretty much wrote a letter to Universal, in case if people don't know, that literally says, screw you guys. You went back against your word, and we saw this coming, but we still let you guys do what you did. And now you're going to pay the price. We won't show your movies.
Yeah, right. Universal came home with lipstick on its collar after a bachelor party.
Yeah. Now, there are a couple of things I want everybody to keep in mind, because the language is in these letters and what you're going to read in articles is super aggressive. But keep in mind, it is major posturing. I don't think Universal was as successful as they make it out to be, because there's no way to verify their information. So when they say we made $100 million, did you make 60 and a rounding up? Did you make 100 with toy sales? And you're like, this has just been a great overall achievement.
And I do love.
Or are you projected to make 100 when all is said and done into what normally would have been a rental period
as a gross number? Not subtracting any costs.
Yeah.
And I do love that AMC is the one that stepped up. One, because they have the biggest stake, but two, also because they're about ready to enter bankruptcy protection.
Right. When I saw that it was AMC that first started this, I was like, well, they're kind of in bankruptcy. They're going to need Universal titles as well as like Disney or Warner Bros. So I don't see this like really going much farther than just a threat. And then Regal stepped in and was like, no, we got you guys back. Screw Universal. Screw those guys. I was like, oh, now this is real.
Cue Regal entering bankruptcy protection next week.
Right.
Regal's the big brother for AMC in this fight that has begun. And
well, there's that. But also, I took a step back and I'm like, oh, as great as this all sounds, and it's like, yeah, Universal. Let's be really honest. You cannot give up a studio. I don't care how big you are. AMC, Regal, you cannot afford to not play product from a studio. It just,
even if you're a
I've
big
never
chain.
seen it work very well.
Unless you're closing screens.
Right. So you need their product. But so I always keep that in the back of my mind. I've never seen a client able to not play one of the three big ones. What I say by Universal, Disney, or Warner Brothers, and be able to survive very well.
Yeah, one of the 7 big ones. They're always, you have to have product.
Right. You have to have product.
Film on screen.
So keeping that in mind, I was like, what's the release schedule? What is the sacrifice going to be made by this? Where are they going to hurt Universal at? And to be honest with you, Universal didn't have any product till sort of September, more like October with Halloween. So they really, in reality, have till October to posture themselves and negotiate out of this.
And to file bankruptcy. And
Well, what's funny to me is that Universal made it sound like it was going to be all titles are going to do theater and VOD on the same day. But even Universal has to think like titles like Fast and Furious, Jurassic World. There's no way.
There's certain titles that they're definitely going to protect.
Yeah,
That's
there's
why,
no way that they're not going to only have them in theaters first.
No,
I'm
that's why
imagining
they moved
these are
fast to next year.
No, it was a major misstep by the Universal CEO during his article with Wall Street Journal.
But
Speaking
he
the way he
also
did.
clarified with analysts the same position that they want to be able to move their product to premium VOD at their will. And that's where I think they're going to negotiate with the studios, because I don't know what product they're talking about.
It has to be like smaller titles, like maybe Candyman, smaller.
You shut your mouth.
Well, it's just probably not gonna have the
Purge.
opening like.
I need to
Final
actually, I need to actually
Purge
watch
titles could be an option too.
I need to watch those with people because I get scared if I watch them by myself.
I think they're just, and I think all studios are doing this quietly. Universal just took a big stand out of nowhere during a pandemic to make their point. I think trying to better position themselves. But I think all studios are looking at how can we reutilize the theatrical window. Like, where do we make our money in windowing? Where does it make sense when something's not working to send it away? And those are negotiations that had to take place. We've been talking about this for a couple years now. Like, I don't know if anybody remembers a few years ago when the Murdochs and Fox were at the forefront of this debate, wanting to lower windows, do premium VOD, and everybody was on them for that. So it's not surprising that these major companies with more than that are bigger and beyond their film divisions want to utilize this more, especially as they all add their own streaming components.
Yeah. Every single studio, has had these talks for years. That's not surprising. I just think some of them, like Disney and Warner's, are better at communicating with theaters, saying like what they're wanting to do. Like, they're still obviously wanting to put titles in theaters, like first and foremost, but like for some things like Scoob or some things like Artemis Fowl, like they probably have had those type of discussions where they want to put that stuff on and there's understanding, I would imagine.
Maybe, but it's easier, I think, for Disney to be like, well, we only make big movies, so we are only going to want to have them in the theaters, that we will specifically, if there's going to be anything less than a tentpole franchise, then we will have produced it, and it was never going to be marketed to theaters. It will have been produced and created for streaming. And that's what we talked about a lot when we talked about streaming, was this idea that what streaming was going to do was pull product away. It was just going to pull a certain kind and quality of product out of the theaters and direct to streaming. And I think Universal may have overstepped its bounds a little with this idea that with a third path, you either have theatrical, you have streaming, or you have this premium VOD that you can market like it's a theatrical movie, but pay a premium price that the studio gets back most of it. And I think that's where the theaters are saying, no, we are not going to tolerate where you use us to be able to sell this movie, act like it's a movie in the theaters, and then reap all the benefits of that.
Right. I am curious, does NATO have anything to do with what's going on between AMC, Regal, and
So NATO is
Universal.
a trade organization. They represent theater owners across the nation, and their biggest members are AMC, Regal, and Cinemark. So they can't, as a trade organization, I don't think they legally can get involved or say anything on the behalf of those, because then it looks, I think, like collusion, like they're directing them. And that's always kind of been the problem, is the theaters can't all get together until the studios know we're not going to do this. So when you had previous windowing negotiations, Universal had to go to each of the chains and negotiate, and then Fox had to go to each of the chains. So it works both ways. The studios can't all get together and be like, well, we're going to force the theaters to do this strategy. And the theaters can't all get together and be like, we're going to refuse to play this film.
Right.
So that makes it a little bit more challenging. And then you've got all the little independent guys down the middle that also can't come together and say, well, we're just not going to play it. Because if the independents came together, I think they're like 20% of the screens in the U.S. And 20% is a lot. And that's a lot of power to be able to say, like, hey, if we refuse to play. But then that 20% is made up of everything from your little mom pa drive-ins to, you know, a mid-circuit. So,
well, I found this thing interesting where Universal kind of fired shots back at AMC, and they were saying they were disgusted by how NATO and AMC teamed up to like attack Universal, and they were like trying to play the victim, at least what it came across. And when I saw that NATO's name was brought up, I thought about it. I was like, why did NATO get involved? I'd be surprised if NATO got involved.
NATO's
the most involved NATO got was like, we'll never forget this.
Yeah, exactly.
It was never like anything.
NATO puts out lots of statements and these webinars and things where they say, well, certain film companies have made some transgressions in the last few weeks, but they'll never name anybody, and they'll never get excited.
And I think NATO made a really good point that this was a one-off situation under extraordinary circumstances. I mean, how has there ever been in the history this many people stuck at home needing content? And it just hasn't happened. This is a high water mark, and you can't use this as an example to change a strategy that's been working for decades.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's what everybody's just trying to get to the point with Universal and the other. I think they're taking a hard line with them too, because this is like a warning to the other studios. Like, hey, you're butting up against our boundaries here, and we're not going to deal with it anymore.
Yeah, it just feels like at this point Universal is kind of taking advantage of all of this bad situation that everyone has to go through, but not admitting to it. What's
going to happen next summer? They're going to want Fast and Furious everywhere, and they're going to want 3 weeks on it, and they're going to be like, this is our big movie, and you're our partner, and you have to help us out. And I think that is what is so grating, is that they're going to come back to you and want this stuff on their big movies.
And then theaters will say, we remember Trolls World Tour.
Yeah.
We remember.
Well, it's not just that either. I mean, all these film companies made decisions to take movies from theatrical and put them on VOD. So we had locations that were still open and able to open The Hunt, Invisible Man, and those things
Bloodshot from Sony. It's not like it was just Universal.
It was a week after national release, or on the national release date, that these movies were VOD available.
Yep.
Or premium VOD. Same difference. But they were made available, and it's counterproductive, and it's counterintuitive to every cent that was spent on these movies, making them, promoting them. Everything was made or spent so that these movies could be put in theaters.
Yeah, and they're all taking massive losses.
That's why I said I think there's this difference. Either you have product, content, movies, whatever, that is meant for theaters, that's going to be higher quality, that you're going to put marketing dollars behind, and that you're going to want the experience for, and that stays at theaters. And then there's going to be lesser content, and the one that always comes to mind is that Lady and the Tramp remake that Disney made. Like that, I looked at that and it's like, that's just not quality for theaters. And that has worked great on Disney Plus. And I don't begrudge Disney to make product for Disney Plus. It's just, or, Peacock or HBO Max or whatever it's going to be. It's just this trying to carve out this middle of the road where it's like, oh, this is so good to be in theaters, but you can watch it at home for less than it takes you to go to the theater.
Yeah.
Like, that is what is, you can't cross that line. That
Right.
you cannot use that. You cannot cross that line. You can make stuff for your streaming. You can make stuff for the theater, but quit trying to go on the backs of theaters.
Undercutting these people that
Yeah.
made you trillions of dollars.
Get you to where you are now,
took-
for sure.
Who took
Yeah.
all of the expense to upgrade the locations, who take on all of the cost of having brick and mortar buildings, utilities, equipment, and then now refurbishment to all those buildings.
Buying $100,000 projectors when you didn't want to do reels anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Does everybody forget that in 2012, the studios basically came to them and said, we don't want to have to produce film, so we're going to digital, and if you don't convert, you're done. I mean, and then everybody came and pitched in, and we survived that, and we can survive this one.
Yeah.
But I can't wait to see how this continues out.
Maybe we can survive it. I got a tickle in the back of my throat, and I saw Kyle's eyes watering a little bit. I'm worried about us. I think we're about ready to crack.
Why?
I think he's got the Rona.
I feel
Not
fine.
Kyle.
I feel fine.
Kyle will be the last one who gets it.
I've been all protected up, but knowing my luck, I probably would be able to get it still.
Have you gone to a store or anything yet?
Barely. No. Only to like grab a couple of supplies for 10 minutes, but I still had like mask and gloves on, and I try to keep social distancing in check, but everyone else just does not want to.
Right.
Everyone suddenly wants to be next to me. I don't know. It's weird.
We did,
Most popular guy. in the-
I became the popular guy once I put on the mask.
we did try to accommodate and distance ourselves more on the podcast as far as, our cords will let us.
They're 6
Go.
feet.
Yeah, almost 6 feet and then some.
I am limited by the technology of my time.
Yeah, you're still corded in our setup. And we could try to do a Skype call, but have you listened to any podcasts that have done that and then the people cut out and it's so annoying.
It's kind of weird when I see the rare occurrence where those podcasts like work because of how good their mics are. Like somehow just one of those people in the podcast just has such a good
you
mic to
can
where
tell
it's
who
just
has high
crystal.
speed internet and who doesn't
Right.
in those interviews because
Right.
the good internet doesn't cut out.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my gosh.
We do not have that here.
No. We have Mountain West internet.
But we're still bringing you the podcast, guys.
Yeah, we are.
That darn internet.
Yeah, they had to cut down a swath of trees to get the line through.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how this all plays out between theaters and Universal. If Universal will change anything, or if they'll be now like, no, I'm going to do it.
I don't think you'll hear much after this. I think it'll go to closed doors negotiations and it'll be all behind the scenes. Like I said,
No more chains coming in.
I really think this is posturing. It would mean more to me if AMC or Regal stepped out and said this when it was Fast and Furious. And they're like, we're not going to play Fast and Furious because you did premium VOD on whatever. So no one really has anything to lose right now. So to me, it just
I know this is a sweet spot for one of these mid-level chains to step in and go, yeah, like to be the like redheaded cousin,
Right.
like the ankle biter.
Yeah.
And
It's
you
in the
know
fight,
they're-
like, yeah, I told you couldn't do this.
And you know they're going to do that a week after they come to terms and have an agreement.
Well, so there had been previous with Paramount, they talked about cost sharing, or profit sharing. So something that would only play 2 weeks in the theaters and then go to premium VOD, the theater chains were going to get a cut of it. So I think Paramount did that experimentally a couple of years ago.
But that was with the $40 or $50 premium
it
VODs,
was more,
right?
yeah. It was not $20.
Yeah, no.
That was not. So not only did Universal do the premium VOD, but then they're like, let's make it cheaper than taking a family of 4 to the theater.
Make it cheaper than a single ticket in some of these major cities.
Yeah.
I mean, in Manhattan, a
like
ticket.
an IMAX
Yeah,
ticket.
in Manhattan, an IMAX ticket is $24.99.
Right.
And $19.99. All the trolls you can see singing, dancing,
Right.
all sorts of colorful crap.
Yeah. So there's so many
All
aspects
sorts of colorful crap.
there's so many aspects of this. It's where do you place the premium VOD number? You know, when in the theatrical window does it go to that? Do theaters get a kickback from it? Do terms didn't really change? That's something that no one really talked about. Terms were not very. They weren't as low as you would have assumed having gone to premium VOD. I'm like, what was to stop me from just not booking it, renting it, and then for $20, and then being like, here, I played it for free.
I did it.
Technically, it's your master licensing agreement that keeps you from doing that, but the sentiment was there.
We don't
I'm
talk like it
sure.
on this side.
Yeah,
We do everything by the book.
we do everything by the book. You can't do that, but Universal made me want to. I didn't.
I am happy to see like theaters actually like getting attention in the news, because normally like it's studios or like actors that get like the headlines about like a movie that comes out and people only talk about that side of it. But to like actually see stories where people are like, oh yeah, theaters are a thing,
Or
we should write about theaters. It's actually kind of cool. At
Well, it
least.
just shows in the culture how important a theater is, and still
and people don't
in
realize
this
it.
tech savvy online world. The thing that binds us is still that shared movie going experience.
Right.
And so when journalists and people in the news write about how this virus is affecting people shutting down, theaters are always brought up in that, because it's weird to think that you can't go out to eat and you can't go to the theater and like you can't go to the beach and stuff. Like
What encompasses a town? It's a post office. It's a hospital.
a church, a bar, and a theater.
Yeah, there's like 5 things.
Yeah.
And there's one road that connects them all that people drive
Right.
down and around and around and around every Friday night.
Yeah.
And they miss it. They can't have that anymore.
No. But it's slowly coming back. That's good. We've
Yeah.
had a couple clients come back online. We have some more planned for next week. It'll be a slow rollout, but it's just nice to see people reopening.
Yeah, normalcy will come back. It was tough, but
Yeah, all the day
We'll be-
drinking was
we'll be good.
tough. And napping. I didn't even really get to enjoy a nap because we were working on our house.
napping, margaritas.
And I needed
Or
a
cocktails.
day drink because I don't know about other parents, but I became a teacher and I was not equipped for that emotionally, mentally.
I don't think any parents were,
No.
unless if they were already teachers.
No, bless those people. I do not have the patience for it. I have 2 college degrees and I'm like, education is important to me. And then I just become so mean. I'm like, you sit down, you do this. I want a name at the top of the paper.
I believe the statement was, really?
Yeah.
What, they got an answer wrong?
Yes. Oh yeah. It was.
Really, you think
So-
the answer's 6?
Yeah. No joke. I said that.
She said that to a 6-year-old. we're not writing a
Oh
thesis
no!
here.
Dad had to
Oh,
come in and
no.
step in. Mom, here's your cocktail.
Here's
Mom
your
just needed her
cocktail and some
morning
dinosaur-shaped
cocktail.
chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
You have been relieved of command.
Oh no! Yeah, it's good that we're trying to get back to normal
Oh my
now.
Then I would be like, okay, well maybe I'm just not suited for it. Then I let Dad do it. And then I'm like, go back and look. I'm like, there are wrong answers on this paper. Why is the name not at the top? What
Hey.
is going on?
You came from the school where perfection is a requirement.
Yeah.
I came from the school of C's get degrees. Okay, we're not.
Not
we're
my house. We're discovering.
That
we've been
name will be
together
put on the
13
paper, and it
years.
will be spelled
We're not,
correctly.
we're not raising
Yeah.
a Rhodes Scholar here,
Oh.
but I would like him to get in a state school, you know?
Not only spelled correctly, written nicely. I have made him erase so many things. He only just learned to write. I'm like,
He still hasn't learned how to erase properly.
Why have you not learned cursive yet, my 6-year-old child?
Yeah.
That's a whole nother, don't say cursive. That's a whole nother can of worms.
I showed him cursive. I'm like, this is why we start at the top, and this is why we do the letter this way.
God, cursive doesn't matter.
I don't make him write in cursive. I
hope not.
showed him that it's easier on your hand and you flow better if you start your letters at the top.
I'd rather you show him like real death videos than show him cursive.
Wow.
It has no use in real life. If
Just
you see
show
a
him
guy,
Rambo Last Blood.
Yeah, you see a guy get stabbed in the chest by a giant machete, at least he knows that can actually happen.
A+s don't matter if you
I
get
don't
shot in the
think
stomach.
Nobody's going to hand him something in cursive and be
But I
like,
want
can you
him-
read this?
I
Sure.
want him to write nicely and not have really big letters and really teeny tiny letters and then letters all spaced together and then letters all spaced really far apart.
You mean arrange
Hopefully
really
your kid listens and
nicely
take
in
notes.
a format that's easy to read and use, like silverscreeninsider.com?
Like it was typed into the computer.
Available for the low price of
$25 a month.
$300 a year. All right, that's a nice plug and all, but 13 years together, Kyle. I'm learning things about my husband during COVID.
He's a C's get degrees guy. Ugh.
My diplomas on my wall in my office. I'm like so proud. And she's like, yeah, just get it done, kid. Just get it done.
I know, I got a photoshopped ITT technical degree above my desk.
Stop it. So yeah, so mom's simultaneously in charge of education, but also needs breaks. So
Specifically cocktail breaks.
and our school is basically remote learning for the rest of the school year. He's never going back.
Yeah. But summer vacation's coming up. So
Summer
I guess
vacation might be-
technically
He's technically
Here,
been
It's
on summer
already here,
vacation
I
for the last
guess,
2
but-
days.
Let's just say at the same time, I have now like hit my limit and I'm like, whatever. We don't have to finish all we don't have to finish all the
your dad's right. C's get degrees. Go
work,
play. Go
yeah.
play.
At a certain point, I was like really into it. I was like, I'm going to be such a good teacher. 'Cause when I thought it was like 4 weeks. And then when it turned into like, it went to the 5th week and now it's 7 more weeks after this. I'm like, I don't know if I can handle this.
Yeah.
This worksheet says, let's play the quiet game.
Yeah. Weird. Can you go find the Smisher first? It's a weird mythical creature. It's in your room. Go find it.
That'll distract him for an hour.
Yeah. No, and he's so good. And he just looks at me with these like really sad eyes, like, Mom, are you upset with me?
Oh,
and I'm
he
like,
knows exactly what he's doing.
Oh. I'm like, you're right. Let's get a cookie and just forget about homework.
A cookie, quote unquote. It's a cocktail.
It's terrible. I want to be militant mom and then instantly go to fun dad. The worst teacher ever.
Well, shout out to teachers then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I need them
don't
to
have
come
kids
back.
during a pandemic. No choice.
Or just have babies.
Ship them off to a boarding school.
Babies during a pandemic would be
Is there a
fine.
pandemic? Is there any
Yeah.
boarding schools nearby? Let's do this.
They'll be safe. They'll be away from
At
everything.
least they're together.
Yeah, so we're getting through it. But at a certain point in the next couple weeks, enough theaters are going to reopen that I'm going to be busy, and then I don't know who his teacher is going to be. So
The
that'll
world.
be we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah. We'll tell you how that goes another time.
TV, that's whose teacher's going to be. I think Bill Nye and Mystery Doug.
Yeah, and dino trucks.
And Dino Trucks, yeah.
Oh, I've heard all about dino trucks. Should I plug us on out of here then?
Yeah.
Is that what we're leaning towards?
Plug away.
Plug
All
away.
right. Thank you as always for listening to this podcast. Our podcast is on all of the platforms, including Spotify. That was a big deal for us a while back. But you can also check us out at silverscreeninsider.com if you're a theater owner or manager. We got you covered on all things happening in the theater industry right now.
Right.
So please check us out there.
Yep. Check the release schedule. We update it all the time. Download your scoreboard. There won't be anything on it till July, but that's how it should be, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You've survived another week. We're 1 week closer to normality, folks. Hang in there.
Hang in there, guys. You got this.
We are too. Yay, day drinkers. Unite. All right. Take care.
Bye.